Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Dutsy Gaming and part 3 of our Lightning Strike Raider Guide. And this section is going to cover from killing your first Awakener, gearing up to get to Awakener 8. So when you get Cirrus down, or it might even happen before this, at some point if you've only got standard gear, you're going to notice your damage start to fall off. At this point, I recommend you note everything down that you need to get your build finished, and then start farming for those. Not to the point of min-maxing, but at least getting the right gear with the right attributes. So for this build, I recommend the following, and this is what I did, and I made a list of everything I needed for this character, some of which I've farmed, some of which I still need to obtain. So my list was as follows. Firstly, farm essences for future claws, farm invasion bosses for more raw chaos, respec Alira into 2 passive points, respec the ascendancy. Now as a change, I decided to take both onslaught nodes, and it's really good for mapping. But when you get to the higher tiers of content, there isn't enough damage in terms of single target. So I've had to spec out of both the onslaught nodes and then take the ailment avoidance node and also take avatar of the slaughter. This helps us also because we can then free up the ailment wheel, and it means we just need a craft on either a shield or a chest to become 100% immune to ailments. So alongside this, if you haven't done, you need to target the ailment immune craft from Syndicate, and also look for Corel because he has one on a helmet that again could do fizz as fire, which can be really good. Then you also want to be farming Hunter Gloves item level 80, and this is probably one of the most important as it allows us to drop Ancestral Call and then add more damage, which gives us both lightning strike damage and Vol lightning strike damage. Ancestral Call is really good for clearing and doesn't do too much single target wise, but it doesn't do anything to Vol lightning strike, so adding in a 6th damage link can really help there for single target. You also want to look out for Redeemer level 83 chest. There's lots of different crafts we can get on here that are useful. There's Fizz taken as cold, there's Frenzy on hit, and then there's also just a standard craft that we can put on a chest, which is up to 10% chance to dodge spells. And that's what I've done. I've obtained a Redeemer chest, it's item level 85, but I haven't 6 linked it yet, so I haven't started crafting on it. So for now, I've just got a bog standard life 6 link, and I've crafted on chance to dodge spells. You also want to look for Redeemer helmet level 85 because you can get 10% fizz taken as cold damage. Shield wise, you want to try and look out for a Shaper Shield item level 85 as this allows us to craft maximum resistances on a shield. Optionally, you could farm at Zeri for both at Zeri's Step and at Zeri's Promise as they're both good additions to the build. Now, if you're a real glutton for punishment, you can farm Lab for the Lightning Strike enchant as realistically at some point you do need it on the build. You could look for a Corrupting Blood Jewel. We also want to farm Legion for a Lethal Pride Jewel. And then lastly, farm some Blighted maps to get some oils to get a good anointment. Now it's a long list, but with the amount of maps currently needed to unlock Awakener 8, a lot of this will be doable before you hit Cirrus. However, with the rework that's coming, it might be a lot quicker, so you might not be able to get it all done. So currently I've got the following ticked off the list, still lots more to do. But I think with what I've got, we can just about do Awakener 8. T16 maps and Conquerors are pretty comfortable. So I've managed to craft a better claw, but we're only halfway there. We can certainly get a much better one. We've respec'd Alira. We've also found the regrets to respec our Ascendancy. We've managed to get a Redeemer helmet with Fizz taken as cold. We had some Hunter Gloves drop, so we've crafted those using alterations to get the +1 strike. We've corrupted a jewel to get Corrupted Blood. It's not a particularly good jewel, but we're only really going to use it for Cirrus. We've got dodge spell hits crafted on the chest. And then we've also got spell and attack dodge on our shield as a makeshift shield until I can find the Shaper Shield. So overall, we've now got, without anything and any buffs up, we've got 59% chance to dodge attacks and spells. So when we're elusive and we've got a high effect of that, we cap both. As we've got the strike gloves, I've dropped Ancestral Call. My 6th link is now Vol Lightning Strike, added Cold, added Lightning, Inspiration, Nightblade Support, and Trinity. For auras, we're running a Precision, which isn't quite max because of mana, Herald of Ice, and Anger. I'm not going to touch too much on kind of what we do with the Atlas because it's all going to change, but we need a Legion jewel, so we're taking any Atlas points that benefit Legion. We also are going to need Blight Oil, so again, we're taking nodes that affect Blight. Now, if you're playing SSF like me, don't worry if it takes time to start unlocking this. A lot of the drops are RNG, but you will get them sooner or later. It took me a lot of influence maps and quite a few alteration orbs to get my hunter gloves, but this is the one thing I needed to boost my damage. So it was one thing, if I was max juice in maps, I was making sure it was the hunter influence one so that I could get a better chance at the gloves dropping. So I've got most of the gear I need to beat Awakener 8, and our burst DPS is hovering around 2 million, which is not amazing considering this is with all our Vial skills up, but it's enough to get the content done. But we could definitely do with more upgrades to make Cirrus comfortable and make it more farmable. And I think the next step after getting to A8, unfortunately, is to farm lab to try and get a lightning strike enchantment or another enchantment that's going to help. I also think farming ritual for a blizzard helm is going to be massively helpful. So the next steps, along with targeting the gear already mentioned, is to start looking for cluster jewels. In the build I'm using in Trade League, I use a large cluster jewel with lightning or cold damage. You want 8 passives, and it needs to have Storm Rider because this allows you to generate power charges. We then, coming off of this, have 1 medium curse effect jewel with Wish for Death, as this allows us to cull curse targets, essentially adding 10% damage. And then we also want a medium crit jewel so that we can get our crit chance up and our crit multi up. And then the last thing to pull all this together would be the Assassin's Mark on hit ring. It just means we don't have to manually curse or hex anymore, and this then coincides really well with the jewel that culls curse targets. Now it's going to be a lot of farming, but once we get everything on this list that I've mentioned, that's basically the character finished in terms of endgame. It will be able to do all the content, except maybe the feared. You'd need to really get a really good claw to get your burst damage up, but everything else should be really simple and you should be really tanky. So that covers off this build. If I do manage to get all this gear in the next few days, then I'll release a final part of the guide, really probably just a showcase of what can be achieved in SSF in a fairly short amount of time. Other than that, probably going to end the series here because Balanced Manifesto is coming out. So I want to start looking at how that's going to affect this build, for example, and then start fleshing together some starter build ideas to start practicing. I hope this series has helped and been useful to some people. As always, thanks for watching, take care, and see you in the next video.